Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to the official live stream of Daniel Tolson. Today with me, we have a very special gentleman who specialises in speed learning. So today on the live stream, you're going to learn how to learn faster and easier than you ever thought possible. Ladies and gentlemen, would you help me welcome to the live stream Dr. Raman K. Attry. Welcome.
Thank you, Daniel. My pleasure.
My pleasure. Now, life wasn't easy for you at the beginning, and a lot of people are talking about overcoming mental and emotional blockages. However, you were diagnosed with polio and you lost the movement of your left leg. So over the years, how has that held you back, and what have you had to do to overcome that to ensure that hasn't been a limitation in your life?
Thank you very much, Daniel, for asking that question. So I got polio when I was just 6 months old. So essentially, I never learned to walk. So when I grew up, I kind of found that I didn't have that capability like other kids. So in the beginning of it acted as a block for me, because I was comparing myself with other kids around. When they were playing, I couldn't do that. For many years, it held me back because the thing what held us back is the comparison. We tend to compare ourselves with others and we feel that what others can do, we can do. And I think that's the beginning of all the forces that pull you back. But in my case, pretty soon, I think within about 8 year, 9 year of age, I understood this is going to stay with me. I gotta need to live with this, and I need to find the ways how can I make the best use of this. And over the years, what I realized is that there is no point really brooding upon this because what I see is it gave me lots of leverages because I couldn't walk like other kids. So full day I was just sitting on my chair, tied to my chair. So that was my excellent opportunity to focus. It opened up my world for books. And that's where I learned that even if you have any kind of limitation, there are always leverages. There are always windows of opportunities. We tend to ignore them, but they are already there. So that's how I basically kind of grown out of my limitation.
And one of the most important qualities of success is optimism. And I love hearing it and how you've put it here. You know, you've just accepted that this is going to be a part of life, but you've started to look for that silver lining. And for you, it was education. And over the past decade of studying, you acquired more than 60 different certifications. And you have brought together in your doctorate what's called speed to learning. So you've had this passion for learning when you were younger. How did it develop into this speed to proficiency and speed to learning?
Great. So my journey basically started from the childhood because in the childhood, what I thought is that if I can't walk fast, what is there where I can walk fast? So very soon I figured perhaps by learning fast, I could stay ahead of others. So that was my best bet to move forward in life. So then in the beginning, what I did is I did a lot of experiments. I tried different things. How could I learn this way? How could I learn faster than others? So over the decade, I did a lot of different experimentation on myself, try to read the books, try to understand different techniques which were there. So over the last 2 decades, I actually transformed that experimentation into a formal education through my doctorate. I conducted a lot of research on myself as well as on others. I did that research in corporate settings and I went out to about 70 world class organizations. And that's where I figured out that the people have a real struggle in trying to understand that how they can propel their learning faster, how they can perform at a faster rate. And that's where the know how that basically came about from my research. But ultimately, the foundation was what I experienced in my childhood.
I remember when I was growing up, I was told I was learning disabled. And so after a while, you're told you're learning disabled, your marks reflect what the teacher told you, and you can almost give up on learning. And I finished school at age 17, and I didn't really like to learn after that because learning was not an enjoyable topic for me. And so doing sports, doing things with my hands was really good. I like to use my mind, but I was convinced I was learning disabled. And so for many years, I put off the learning. And even until I was 27, I put it off. And then I went back to, and I thought I'll go to university as an adult. So I went to adult university and I was there for a month. And they said, Daniel, your writing is atrocious. The way that you structure your assignments is atrocious. We think you should leave. And so I never went back. But I was lucky that I found a mentor and somebody who taught me how to learn differently. And as soon as I had that passion to learn, I wanted to learn faster. And it was like a drug. I learned to speed read. And then once I read one book, I wanted to read another book. And once I read that book, I wanted to do it faster. And so, what I've learned now that I'm 40, I love to learn. But what made a big difference was the difference between learning slowly and learning fast, because I think everybody wants to run faster. Everybody wants to drive faster. They want to get their goals faster. Why not learn faster? And I think it's just a phenomenal skill to be able to learn fast. So for people who are wrestling with learning like I was, what are some of the mental blocks that you see? What are some of the, like I like to call them, the bullshit stories they tell themselves about their inability to learn? What do you hear?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. In fact, in the beginning, I struggled with that one too. In fact, I had never had any coaching. My parents were not educated, so it was just only me. And one thing was in me that your brain got a tremendous power. We normally don't really kind of use the potential our brain offers to us. But then there are a lot of myths. A lot of things are floated in social media content, or those are told by the teacher that this is the way you should learn. But not everything is really accurate about that. One of the things which has been, I think it's a myth. We feel that reading fast is going to let us learn fast. But in reality, it is other way around. When we read slow, when we come across failures, more number of failures that we get exposed to, it might sound counterintuitive that it's going to slow us down. But in the longer run, what it does is it deepens your learning and you retain it for longer time, and it helps you perform at a much accelerated rate. So I think there are a lot of these kind of myths, I would say, which are not very well, I would say, verified, but we continue keep following that. So reading is one thing, but learning faster has entirely different domain, entirely different set of strategies, I would say.
So you've applied this to yourself. You were the rat in the cage. You applied all of this to yourself. What were some of the achievements that you've had since you've taken your own medicine?
All right. Okay. So I think the part of this one is that we are often told that you need to sit and focus on one thing at a given point of time, and you're gonna need to put n number of hours to master it. So that particular theory has gone already obsolete. Putting that hour in reading something, studying something, trying to learn something is not gonna help. What helps is how do you do different kind of experiments either with the content or with the situations or with the techniques you are using. So there is a new research that suggests us that if you perform different kind of experiments, if you keep changing certain variables when you're trying to learn something, rather than putting the hours, when you keep changing the situation within which you're learning, when you keep varying the content you're learning, when you keep varying your methods, that actually accelerate learning much faster than traditional situations. So that's what I learned in my experimentation, that you're gonna need to keep changing the variables around the things you're gonna learn.
So what's a variable in this instance? I remember when I was learning to speed read, I had to stop sub vocalizing. And one of the methods that I learned was to chew gum. And so I was reading and I was chewing gum and it stopped the sub vocalization. So that was one of the variables that I had used. In your instances here, what are some of these variables that people could
Yep,
start to change today so they could be watching us here live? And then as soon as
yep.
they finish, hey, don't do this yet. You got to wait till the end of the live. As soon as the live finishes, what could be one or two things they could start to do differently today to accelerate that pace?
Right. So I'm going to set some grounds here that whatever you're going to learn in your life, either in professional settings or personal setting or business settings, it has to have certain purpose. It has to have certain goal. So, for example, in your job setting, you're going to perform certain thing. You're going to need to learn some skills, and alongside that skill, you're also going to need to learn some content. So we need to draw a line here. That's reading is not learning. Reading always does not lead to learning, because when we are saying learning, if let's say that my job required a lot of content to learn, so one of the way I could accelerate my path is by using the performance support system, which will allow me to access the content as and when needed. That means I don't have to learn that content upfront. I don't have to master that content upfront. All I need is I need it near the job at the point of need. So the moment we use those content at the point of need, we actually accelerate not only our learning but also the final performance. That's number one. So what it means is that we're going to need to kind of differentiate between reading and learning. Learning require a lot of reflection. So when you read something, you obviously need to vocalize inside your mind. You're going to need to reflect. You're going to need to stop your content on one side, and then you need to look at, ask a lot of critical question to yourself, what it means to me in my job, how could I apply it. So it's a kind of debate with yourself when you are learning a new content. So but then there is the other thing also, you're going to also need to learn skills. The skills happens with reflection as well as by doing it. But when it comes to doing, you're going to need to do a lot of different experiments in order to learn new skills.
So fascinating, so fascinating. Over the years of your clients who have been using this, what are some of the success stories that you're seeing? I'm going to share your website here, and I'd love to learn more about what you're doing here. If you could talk to us about some of the success stories of your clients, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, that's right. So I was just talking about the content. I think we live in social media world now, and our social media world is invaded with a lot of content. So I'm gonna kind of talk about content for a while. So one of the story I'm gonna tell is that there is a one organization call center, and they used to have 11 weeks of training for their agents. So these agents are call center employees, those who will take the incoming calls from different clients. So imagine 11 weeks of training was more focused on how to use their system, how to pull the queries, how to answer the questions to the customer. Instead of that one, what they did is they implemented a software that will provide those agents contextual help on the screen. That means the software will understand based on your cursor where exactly you are, and it will provide you contextual help as you go along. It will tell you what kind of question to ask from the client. And by doing that, what happened is these guys eliminated that 11 weeks of training altogether. So now imagine the training is totally gone. The people are on the job on day one almost. You just need to give them a little orientation about the software. So now the content is available to them in pieces as and when they need it in the workflow. So that's the kind of concept that when we leverage technologies, when we leverage our ecosystem, when we leverage other tools, learning for the job get accelerated. So that's one of the success story which I could share, because these days we do think all the time mastering the content mean mastering the job, but in reality content is only small piece of the job.
11 weeks, that's a huge time savings. That's huge.
That's right. That's
That's
right.
almost, it's a good solid term of school. I mean, and to be able to do that, I remember when I started to increase my speed of learning. I remember at the start of the year, I had read 30 books in the first 30 days. And I know that by the time February came around with what I had acquired, I was so far ahead of my competition. And along
Mhm.
with speed reading, I did some other memory retention exercises, and I can recall these parts of the books and the concepts. But I also, like you said here, it's the application, and so I
That's
applied
right.
it really, really quickly, and then it's like it's embedded down into the
Yeah,
subconscious
yeah.
mind. So you've also got a very nice community here. You've been building a community. What's happening in your community at the moment?
Yeah, I have been kind of trying to build my community, and fundamentally, I'm a researcher. So we love to share our research. We love to share with people what's the truth about science, what's happening out there in the world of learning, and what's happening out there in the world of performance. So I have this website, speedtoproficiency.com, where I provide a lot of free resources like books, reports, a lot of different videos I'm going to put pretty soon. So there are a lot of different resources I kind of bring in there alongside certain blogs and articles to clarify that what are the different techniques, different models people can adopt in order to accelerate their performance. And also it serves the organizations, because organization also got challenged. They got large teams and they need to accelerate the path for their teams in order to learn never seen before technologies, never seen before products, and things are becoming very competitive in the market. So I am kind of bringing in the people, like-minded people who have keen interest in accelerating their excellence to the next level. So I'm kind of bringing in this community through my website,
And you've also got a
and
lot of
there are a lot
free
of things
resources.
happening in. I'm sorry.
And you've got a lot of free resources here on YouTube also. So when people come over to
Yes.
your YouTube page, what can they find over here?
Yeah, so the YouTube videos I typically kind of give pretty short videos as well as long form of videos also, because the science about learning is not something you can really contain by just writing. So these days the videos are that kind of thing. So and on my YouTube channel, I kind of focus on few things. How do you learn fast for mastery? How do you accelerate your performance? How do you help your team to accelerate their performance? And then I also look at other pieces, that how do you accelerate path to your leadership. So I kind of categorize different videos, I put it over there. I talk on different forums, I present at different conferences. So wherever whatever nuggets I speak about, I typically take and extract and post the videos in my YouTube. So it's a quite powerful learning for people.
Amazing. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to learn more about the work of Dr. Rahman, head over to his website, which is www.speedtoproficiency.com. There's also a whole host of free resources there on the webpage, but also if you head over to into the YouTube page as well, there's going to be a lot of content that you can take and apply immediately. Now, Dr. Rahman, if one person was to do one new thing differently today, what would be the first thing that you'd be recommending that they do today to improve their speed to proficiency?
All right. So good question. I think when it comes to learning, most of the time we always think we are all alone. And what we do is we sit on our desk and we try to focus, we try to get ourselves immersed into the content or learning something new. But if you look at the professional learning, that's what I think the context here is, that in order to become successful in your job, in your profession, the professional learning happens in an ecosystem. You are not alone. So when we talk about ecosystem, you got few things around you. Number one, you got technologies and resources. Many times you don't have to remember things. You can rely on the technologies and resources to pull the information as and when needed. And in fact, some of the performance support system will keep pushing some of the content reminder as you go. You can get that one on your mobile phone. So in regards to learning, you are not alone. You got a whole set of infrastructure and technologies around you. That's number one. Number two is that you have a set of people around you who could be your best coaches or mentors. But again, one mentor or one coach is not going to help you, because you're going to need to learn a different set of skills. So you will need to have specialists in your network. So I always tell people you're going to need to leverage your network and build a network of mentors. That's number two thing I tell. And number three thing is that many times we are told that we're going to need to learn in a safe environment. You're going to need to rest, relax, and learn. But in reality, if you look at your job, we perform miraculously good in your job because there is a pressure, there is emotion loading, there are consequences if we don't do. So the moment we immerse ourselves into that kind of emotional environment, the learning get accelerated. So those will be my three things, not one, Daniel, because one thing doesn't work alone. It's gonna need to work with each other.
Lovely. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you begin to follow Dr. Rahman K. Atri today. Head over to his website, speed to proficiency.com, and then make sure you also head over to YouTube to learn more. Dr. Rahman, thank you so much for sharing. Greatly appreciate it. I know how busy you are, and thank you so much for coming on and sharing your ideas. And from me and our network here, big round of applause to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I look forward to having you again soon. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me on the live stream today. And remember, if you learn it, apply it, and then you can start to accelerate and multiply your results. Ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful weekend. Ciao for now.